For the longest time, I believed that wealthy people had access to some secret formula, a hidden blueprint for success that the rest of us were never taught. Maybe it was a family connection, a private coach, or some elite morning routine that set them apart. But as I began to study their habits and, more importantly, apply them in my own life, I discovered something surprising. There is no hidden formula, no magical shortcut. The difference isn't waking up at 4 a.m., taking cold plunges, or following flashy productivity hacks. It's far simpler and yet far more powerful, and wealth in its most enduring form is built through small, consistent behaviors. These aren't just financial tips or productivity tricks. They are deep psychological and behavioral patterns that stack up over time. In this chapter, I want to share one of the most foundational shifts I've observed in wealthy individuals, a trait that I've come to adopt and which has completely transformed how I take action, handle fear, and move towards success. It's a mindset shift so simple that many overlook it. They act anyway. When I first thought about starting my YouTube channel, I was paralyzed by doubt. My inner voice wasn't just skeptical. It was brutal. "You're not qualified," it told me. "There are others who know more, speak better, and have years of experience on you." And that voice won, for a while. It kept me from starting. Months went by in silence. Then, it came back again when I was invited to speak at a major event. "You'll embarrass yourself. You'll blank out on stage. You're not like the real speakers, the ones who belong there." NNBUT. Here's the truth I've learned after observing countless wealthy, successful individuals. They all hear that voice too. They're not immune to fear, self-doubt, or imposter syndrome. They've just learned how to act in spite of it. The voice doesn't go away. They've simply stopped giving it authority. This realization changed everything for me. The next time that inner critic showed up, I didn't argue with it. I just said, "Thanks for sharing," and I did the thing anyway. Not because I felt confident, but because I understood something crucial. Confidence is the result of action, not the prerequisite for it. Every time you hesitate on launching that business idea, applying for that job, or investing in something new, that voice will show up. It's trying to keep you safe. But wealth, real transformative wealth, isn't built in safety. It's built on courage, consistency, and taking action even when you don't feel ready. NNSO. The next time fear tries to talk you out of moving forward, don't wait for it to disappear. Thank it for its concern and move anyway. Because the people who build wealth aren't fearless. They're just willing to act through the fear. In August 2024, I found myself at a crossroads. I had been working on my YouTube channel for about 7 months. The results were okay. A few hundred views here and there, some encouraging comments, but nothing that felt life-changing. I was consistent, but not fully committed. And then something shifted. Not gradually, but all at once. By September, I became obsessed. Truly, deeply, all-consuming obsessed. This wasn't the trendy, hustle culture kind of obsession people casually reference. This was real. My channel was the first thing I thought about when I woke up. It lived in my mind during lunch breaks, during dinner, and when I was supposed to be relaxing. I started saying no to weekend plans. I left birthday parties early. Friday nights were for rest, because Saturday mornings were sacred. My 6 a.m. creative ritual. I worked long hours, alone, while the world carried on around me. And in that solitude, something incredible happened. Progress, momentum, growth, NBUT. It was also lonely. Not in the physical sense. I was surrounded by people, but in the emotional sense. Few truly understood what I was building, or why I was pushing so hard. Well-meaning friends and family urged me to find balance, to slow down, to enjoy life more. They weren't wrong. They cared, but they didn't understand that when you're going from 0 to 1, balance is a luxury you can't afford. NNWE, live in a culture that glorifies well-roundedness, but ask anyone who's ever created something extraordinary, a business, a breakthrough, a movement, and they'll tell you that there was a season in their life where balance wasn't the goal. Obsession was NN. This isn't forever. You don't have to live in that mode for years on end. But when you're building something meaningful from the ground up, there is a window of necessary obsession. That window is where most people give up, not because they aren't capable, but because obsession feels extreme, and extreme makes others uncomfortable. NNBUT. Here's the key. Obsession doesn't mean burnout. It doesn't mean mindless work for the sake of busyness. It means purposeful, focused immersion into something that deeply matters to you. Something that aligns with your natural talents, has the potential to create impact, and yes, can generate wealth. That's the sweet spot. When you find something that meets those three criteria, you enjoy it, it plays to your strengths, and it can build income. Go all in. Let yourself obsess. Let yourself build. Let yourself be misunderstood for a little while. That's the price of doing something different. But the reward? Freedom, fulfillment, and a life that's truly yours. Why is it that we never question the financial paths we've been handed? Somewhere along the way, we're told that the right way to live is to work for 40 years, retire at 65, and hopefully enjoy life once we're too tired to chase dreams. We're taught that entrepreneurship is for other people, that investing is too risky, and that talking about money is somehow impolite or shameful. NNBUT. Here's the thing. Most people live by money rules they never consciously chose. And I grew up with the same set of beliefs many people did. Beliefs like NN, you have to work hard at a job you don't enjoy to live a good life. Talking about your finances is rude. Money is hard to make. Making money online is a scam. These ideas weren't presented as opinions, they were treated like facts. And so I lived by them until they started holding me back. It wasn't until I actively began questioning those beliefs that my financial life, and my life overall, began to shift. What if these ideas weren't true? What if they were just passed down patterns, rooted in scarcity, fear, or outdated thinking? When I left my job in investment banking, it wasn't because I had everything figured out. It was because I realized the rules I was following weren't taking me where I wanted to go. I started to experiment, to build, to share my financial journey openly, something I was always told never to do. I explored online income streams, even though I used to believe they were fake. I challenged my assumptions at every turn. And here's what I learned. Wealthy people think differently because they've learned to challenge the default. They don't blindly follow the same path everyone else is on. They ask deeper questions. NN. Is this belief about money actually serving me? And is this safe path really safe? And what if the opposite were true? You don't need to rebel against everything, but you do need to reflect on whether the rules you're following are aligned with the life you want to live. If they're not, you have full permission to rewrite them. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to building wealth. But the first step for anyone is this: unlearn what isn't working. The life you want likely doesn't fit inside the beliefs you were raised with. And that's okay. Growth begins when you start asking better questions. For years, I believed what most people do, that the only way to make money was to show up and work for it. It seemed obvious. Work more hours, earn more. Simple, logical, but also deeply limiting. Because as I lived out that belief in the corporate world, I began to feel a quiet, creeping truth. If I stopped working, the money stopped too. No work, no pay. That wasn't freedom. That was a trap. NNTHE wealthy see this trap for what it is. And more importantly, they learn to escape it. They understand something most people don't. Time should not be your only currency. N. You see, when you're stuck in the time for money exchange, your income will always have a ceiling. There are only so many hours in a day, only so many days in a year. You can hustle, you can sacrifice sleep, but eventually you'll hit a wall. That wall is called burnout, and it's where most people stop. NNBUT rich people, they think differently. They focus on building systems, assets, and income streams that generate money, even when they're not working, while they're sleeping, while they're traveling, while they're living NNFOR. This shift began when I started creating content that had long-term value, videos and digital products that could continue to reach people months, even years after I made them. One effort, many returns. It wasn't just about working harder, it was about working smarter. It also meant creating products that could sell automatically online and building systems that ran with minimal input. The kind of income that doesn't depend on me being at a desk every day, the kind that scales. This is the fundamental difference between being busy and being wealthy. Busy people work endlessly for income. Wealthy people build structures that generate income for them. NNTHAT could look like NIN creating a digital product once and selling it thousands of times, and building a YouTube channel, podcast, or blog that earns through ads or sponsorships, and investing in assets that generate passive income, stocks, real estate, or businesses. Each path has its own level of risk, but every path starts with one mindset shift and light bulb. You don't have to trade your time for money forever, and start small. Learn how money can work for you, instead of always working for it. Yes, it takes effort in the beginning. Yes, there will be learning curves. But the payoff is freedom, and that's worth everything. For the longest time, I was terrified of failing. The thought of a presentation falling flat would haunt me for weeks. When my business ideas didn't work out, I would feel like a failure, convinced I just wasn't cut out for entrepreneurship, destined for the safe corporate grind. Like many, I thought failure was the end of the road, something to avoid at all costs. NNBUT, the wealthiest people I've studied, spoken to, and learned from see failure through a completely different lens. To them, failure isn't a verdict on their worth or ability. It's valuable information. Failure is data. Every setback, every mistake, every no is a chance to learn, adjust, and grow. Instead of thinking, I'm terrible at this, they ask, what can this teach me? What can I do differently next time? This simple mental shift changes everything. It frees you from the fear that can paralyze action. It turns obstacles into stepping stones. Now, when I'm nervous about launching something new or trying a risky idea, I remind myself, it's okay if this doesn't work. I'll figure it out. I'll learn, and I'll keep going. This mindset isn't just comforting, it's empowering. It builds resilience and a hunger for improvement. And it's exactly why many wealthy people keep trying until they succeed. Remember, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the process. When you treat every failure as a lesson, you move closer to your goals every time you fall.